You're watching ICENET, independently covering New York Islanders hockey past and present, bringing you the tradition and nostalgia you know and love with a modern feel. This is where Islanders tradition and pride are always our number one. Built by passion for the orange and blue. Isles coverage. Taking a step into the future by reaching into the past. ICENET. Dynasties live here. ICENET. Dynasties live here.
Ball has to wait for it. Now plays for the Breezy in front. Throw it goes to shoot. Score!
They are the most successful U.S.-based team in the history of the National Hockey League. 4 straight Stanley Cups during the early 1980s attest to that greatness. But record books only tell cold facts. Theirs is a 25-year history of vivid memories, dramatic victories, and championship character. But above everything, it is a 25-year history of what can be accomplished through hard work and determination if, as a team or as an individual, day by day, game by game, shift by shift, you live by one simple credo: never say die.
The shot and winning the series.
In 1972, Bill Torrey, formerly the head man of the California Golden Seals, was tabbed by Islanders owner Roy Bowe to build a hockey franchise. Torrey's tools were the hockey drafts, expansion and amateur, and he not only had to build a team, but do so in the shadow of one of the league's most powerful franchises, the New York Rangers.
When we looked at what our options were when we started the franchise, there wasn't any sense in us trying to patchwork a team and try and compete with the Rangers. We weren't going to compete with the Rangers for at least 3 years, in my opinion, maybe even a little bit longer. They were that strong. What we had to do was take a look down the road. And the draft being the way it was, the amateur draft then, we knew in the next few years that there were a lot of really outstanding young players that down the road were going to be players of major, that would play a major role in the NHL.
From the amateur ranks, Torrey chose Billy Harris, Lorne Henning, and Bobby Nystrom. The pro pool yielded hard-hitting defenseman Jerry Hart, a little-known backup goaltender from Los Angeles named Billy Smith, and a 2-time Stanley Cup champion, Ed Westfall.
It was a collection of ragtag guys that maybe 5 or 6 were NHL players, and the rest, they probably couldn't play in the American Hockey League. But they were given an opportunity. And so, you know, the role that someone like myself had to play in this was that, you know, you had to make them feel good about something, because all they were hearing from everybody was all this negativeness.
Get it out, though.
And the rest of the league took advantage, feasting on the Islanders in that first season.
Just that quick go.
The team stumbled to a 12-60-6 mark, establishing an NHL record for futility along the way. There were some bright spots, though, most notably a 9-7 victory over the defending champion Boston Bruins at the hallowed Boston Garden. But the win was not enough to save the coaching job of Phil Goyette, who was fired 11 days later and replaced on an interim basis by Earl Ingerfield. The biggest benefit the Islanders got from that dreadful first year was the #1 pick in the amateur draft. And as he would do for several years to come, Torrey plucked a gem. This time it was everyone's consensus top pick, a rugged, skilled defenseman named Dennis Potvin.
He was a physical, tough presence. As a body checker, he was so punishing. You don't see that today. As a hip checker, he was a unique player. And obviously offensively, he was a star. So there was, although I made some representations in the media that I was looking for a centerman for Billy Harris, or I was looking for a high-scoring left winger, there was never really any doubt in my mind as to where I was going to go when I had that pick.
Dennis Potvin arrives, and from the beginning, you know, you had a quality player, and he was mature in his playing ability. You could tell that he had played a lot of hockey, a lot of quality hockey. He was a premier player from the beginning, and Billy Harris was starting to round out. He was the first player that the Islanders drafted our first year, and so you could see the development.
A primary contributor to that development was new coach Al Arbour, a four-time Stanley Cup winner as a player. But it was quickly evident to Arbour that getting his name on the cup again would require patience.
After a couple of days, I saw what I had, and what did I get myself into? I made it very, very miserable. The practices were long and tough continually, and I was hoping some of them would quit on it, but they didn't.
Not only didn't they quit, but they began to embrace his defense-first philosophy.
Al started his thing. The coaching aspect was absolutely determined by him, and this is what you were going to do, and this is how you were going to do it, and don't deviate from it, because in a meeting after a game or the end of a period, he would bring it up. He would say, you know, this is not what we practiced, this is not what we talked about. So he was teaching. As well as he was learning himself, he was also teaching, which is not something we saw the first year.
When a team played us, they knew that they'd been in a hockey game. Even if we lost, they knew that they had to work and fight to win, because we were competitive.
Though they didn't win many of those games, the Islanders shaved a whopping 100 goals off their goals against total. More important, though, was the development of an attitude which would become the team's trademark. That's
probably one of the things that most of us will always remember about Al Arbour. It didn't matter whether you were the Dennis Potvin or whether you were the fourth-line center killing a penalty occasionally or just sitting there most of the game. Everybody was part of that team.
Dennis Potvin led the team in scoring, a performance which earned him a Calder Trophy as the league's Rookie of the Year. With Dennis, brother Jean, and the development of gritty forwards such as Bobby Nystrom and Gary Howitt, all of Long Island could now look to a brighter future. In the 1974 amateur draft, Bill Torrey pulled a 1-2 punch that ranks among the most impressive in the sport's history. With his first pick, he took big burly Clark Gillies, and in the second round, he selected Brian Trottier. Gillies made the jump to the big club the next season.
I think the thing that stands out the most when I first came to the Islanders was when I left home to go to training camp. Everybody said, well, we'll see you in early April, because the way the Islanders have played, there's better than the even chance you're not going to make the playoffs. But it just seemed that I said I wouldn't bet on it. I said if this team ever gets anything going, I said there could be an opportunity for us to make the playoffs.
Gillies could not know how right he was going to be, or how soon. In only their third season, the Islanders shocked the hockey world by making the playoffs, thanks in part to a late-season trade by Bill Torrey.
We'd made some moves in the third year. We'd gotten some players that were the kind of players that win games, particularly J.P. Parisi and Jude Drouin were playoff. They'd played in Montreal and they played in Minnesota. They'd been in the Stanley Cup. They were upbeat, positive kind of players as well as skillful players, so that, you know, they added a lot to our team.
Making the playoffs could have been achievement enough, but the Islanders found themselves in a unique position. As overwhelming underdogs to the New York Rangers, they had a chance to reestablish themselves in the hockey world.
We went in and won that first game in Madison Square Garden. Everybody was still kind of giggling.
The Rangers crushed the Islanders in Game 2, setting up a decisive Game 3 at Madison Square Garden. The experts gave the Islanders no chance of victory, but the experts were about to get their first look at a team that would never say die. 11 seconds into overtime, the impossible became reality when J.P. Parisi scored to lift the Islanders to the most improbable of victories.
I can still remember that moment when J.P. scored the goal. You could hear a pin drop at the Garden. I mean, that's unusual in a hockey game. Just like everything was suspended for a period of time and just like being in church. It was so quiet.
I thought we won the Stanley Cup. I mean, whatever the Stanley Cup was, at that time, you know, it was only a dream and a concept, something you saw on television. You saw great guys like Jean Beliveau and Bobby Clark carry the Stanley Cup. You didn't see yourself doing it right away. But I think that series made us feel like we had accomplished the same level of victory by beating the New York Rangers.
The winning goal was proof of the Islanders' determination and work ethic. A perfect execution of a play that had been practiced countless times.
Let's bear down. You got maybe another half an hour, so bear down for half an hour. Do it right.
The youthful Islanders suffered a letdown in the next round, dropping the first 3 games to the Pittsburgh Penguins. Only once in NHL history had any team come back down 0-3. But one man refused to let the Islanders go quietly.
Had a meeting and called all the guys close to me at I think it was in Farmingdale at the time. I told them, if anybody here doesn't feel that we're going to win this series, get in the dressing room, get your uniform off, and I never want to see you again.
Obviously, nobody was going to turn around and, say, we can beat this team 4 straight. We just kind of sat there, and Al looked, Al kind of made a believer out of all of us, I think, just 4 straight. We're going to beat these guys 4 straight. We'll give it a try.
A stirring 3-1 win in Game 4 turned the tide, and the Islanders were on their way. 3 games later, Ed Westfall scored the only goal as they again provided a jolt felt throughout the league. Perhaps the Islanders liked Arbor's speech so much that they wanted to hear another one. Against the Philadelphia Flyers, they once again found themselves down 0-3. The odds of making a second comeback were astronomical, but this was an Islander team which was becoming used to delivering the unexpected. They rallied back to knot the series.
Has made her appearance and will try to bring the Flyers back.
Before Game 7, the Flyers pulled out all the stops, flying in Kate Smith to perform God Bless America. Captain Westfall came up with a way to try to neutralize the Flyers' good luck charm.
The truth behind that story was that we had a lot of single guys on that hockey club, and Jerry Hart was one of them. And somebody had some young lady had sent a nice card, and these wonderful, and they were chrysanthemums. So they were in the dressing room, and I spotted them. And I said, Hardy, are they yours? He said, yeah. He said, somebody sent them to me. I said, I want them. Can I have them? He said, sure. So I grabbed them. So then when we went out onto the ice, just before she sang God Bless America, I wanted to present her with the flowers.
The Islanders trying to steal the spotlight from Kate Smith.
The Islanders stole the Flyers' thunder, but they couldn't steal the game, and their 3rd season ended that night. But when it did end, the Islanders had a better understanding of who they were and an inkling of what they could become.
The Islanders were starting to put their label on the NHL as a team that was going to be very good. We just kept playing the best way we knew how, and everybody would say, hey guys, one shift at a time. And the Islanders of 1974-75, I think, took the major leap, a bigger leap than any team that we'd ever seen.
By 1975, the Islanders had a star on defense as well as one of the league's top goalie tandems in Billy Smith and Chico Resch. Brian Trottier's addition to the 1975-76 campaign solidified the unit. Trottier won the Calder Trophy in '76, while Potvin won his first Norris Trophy as the league's top defenseman. The team went over the 100-point mark for the first time before falling in the playoffs to the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens, who were beginning a run of 4 straight Stanley Cups, eliminated the Islanders again the following season. But the league was on notice that the Islanders were close to challenging for a championship.
I think that we kind of weeded out the guys that didn't want to win. And not necessarily that they were gone, but guys showed in practice, if you don't want to work in a game or if you don't really want to sacrifice, then a few of us are going to run at you. And that was pretty much it.
The one element the Islanders were missing was a sniper, someone who could change the game with a single shot. It was a situation they tried to remedy in the 1977 draft. A skinny kid from Montreal, overlooked for 14 selections, was chosen by Torrey. That gangly, awkward-looking kid was Mike Bossy.
Just before we made the selection, I turned to Al and I said, there's a home run hitter that can play right wing, or do you want to go? And we just kind of looked at each other and we almost simultaneously said, we're going for the home run hitter, and that's what we did.
Bossy immediately proved his critics wrong as he set a rookie record, scoring 53 goals.
Scramble for it, and Trottier centers it right to Bossy. Oh, he shot up down the rebound. Bossy again. He scored.
As Bossy's setup man, Trottier became the first Islander to score more than 100 points, helping the team to a franchise record 111-point regular season. The Islanders were now expected to challenge for the Stanley Cup, but someone forgot to tell the Toronto Maple Leafs. With Bossy as one of the primary targets, the Leafs pounded the Isles at every turn and finally completed a stunning upset in a dramatic seventh-game overtime.
Now Turnbull clears it ahead to McDonald. McDonald! He scores! McDonald wins it! The Leafs win it! The Leafs win it! 2-1 and a goal by Lanny McDonald.
The Toronto thing was very disappointing to all of us, and it's hard to look back on because, you take pride in being a big team, physical team as we were. Toronto just came in and beat us up. I mean, it took 7 games to beat us, but they still came in and beat us up.
In the 78-79 season, the Islanders took their game to an even higher level. Brian Trottier was the league's MVP, and the Islanders finished with the NHL's best record. But the road to the Cup went through Madison Square Garden and a Ranger team that still remembered the embarrassing defeat of 1975. The Rangers, riding the back of goaltender John Davidson, pulled off the upset.
We got beat by the Rangers in 79, and I think that, not from a lack of effort on our part, but I think more of just a fantastic display of goaltending by John Davidson is really what beat us. I give him 99% of the credit in that series.
That summer had to be one of the most depressing summers I've ever been through, and everywhere you went, it just seemed that people knew about it and said, "That's too bad, you lost." It was a depressing summer.
When you're knocked down like that, that's embarrassment enough. But then when it gives, the scribes the free license to just plaster you, and there's nothing you can say. I mean, you can stand up and argue with them, but the fact is you lost to a team who did not accomplish as much as you did during the regular season. We were first overall. We took it. You have to swallow the pill.
The following year, we didn't have a very good year. I made sure that they were not going to forget what happened, and I made it very, very tough on them. And I started easing off in the second half, and instead of worrying where we're going to finish, I worried how we were going to play in the playoffs. So I never really worried after that going for first place or worried about the finish. I worried about getting prepared for the playoffs. That's all that mattered.
But for much of the 1979-80 campaign, the Islanders did little to quiet the naysayers. Dennis Potvin missed 3 months with a thumb injury, and the team floated around the 500 mark for much of the year. But as the season grew late, little steps were made in the right direction. Gord Lane was picked up in a December trade, and with Potvin's return, the team suddenly had a glut of quality defensemen. They added another on March 1st.
I nicknamed him Moses when after the first game we played for it. We played against Detroit here, I believe it was Saturday afternoon. And I knew immediately that he was going to have a big impact, a quiet impact on our team, because Kenny Moore never said anything. He never said a word. He just went about doing his job, and he did it very well.
With Morrow's debut and Potvin's return, defenseman Dave Lewis became expendable, paving the way for Bill Torrey to trade for Butch Goring.
I looked at a number of center icemen, but Butchie I liked not only for the way he played, but for his spirit and his attitude. I thought he would bring something to our dressing room that we needed.
Goring's gritty style was an immediate fit, both on the ice and in the locker room.
He stood up and he said, "You guys don't realize how good you are. You guys just don't realize how good of a hockey team you are." And all of a sudden, coming from his perspective, I think I remember that as meaning a lot to me. Because, you kind of say inside, yeah, we are a good team. It was a year ago we were the best in the NHL.
After the trade, the Islanders immediately went on a 12-game unbeaten streak to close out the regular season. They were now firing on all cylinders at just the right time. After a first-round playoff victory over the Kings, the Islanders faced the Boston Bruins, a team with one of the most intimidating lineups ever assembled.
Bobby and I were in a room together, and we were watching the I think whether we started on Tuesday, whatever it was, the 11 o'clock sports report. And the news anchor handed it over to the sports anchor, and he said, hey, Bob, what do you think about the upcoming series between the Bruins and the Islanders? And he says, well, there's no way the Islanders are going to beat the Bruins. He said the Bruins are too big and physical for them to stand up to them over any period of time. He said the Islanders may win a game at home, but he says I picked the Bruins in 5. And he was basing that on because we weren't going to be able to stand up to them physically. Well, I thought Bobby Nystrom was going to go through the TV and grab this guy by the neck, because he was absolutely livid, and I was like, settle down, Bobby. It's just the guy. It's just his opinion. He said, but he says that's what's been the problem with our team. And him and I talked about it for a long time, and we decided that we were going to go out there, and if anything happened, we were going to make sure that we were the two guys that were going to try and lead this team.
I'll never forget the first game in Boston. Bobby Nystrom stood up in the dressing room. I'll never forget that. He said, I've got John Wensick. Gary Howard says, I've got anybody else who comes along. That means a lot. I'll tell you what, you can talk whatever you want about violence in sports or hockey in particular. The toughness, it's there, and it's intimidating as hell.
The Islanders would battle and batter the Bruins throughout the series. The result was a convincing 5-game victory.
Boston probably had the toughest team in the NHL at the time. They had John Winsick, Stan Jonathan, O'Reilly. But we had a few guys that could handle it, and everybody talks about O'Reilly and Gillies going at it. They had battles every game. It was unbelievable. But, there was also Howitt and Nystrom going at some of these players, too, and it was a real war. And it's something that, it wasn't going to happen again. We were going to come out on top victorious in this one, and we did it. And that was really the beginning of us having a real great team.
After dispatching the Buffalo Sabres in the semis, the Islanders had finally made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, where their toughness would again be put to the test against the Philadelphia Flyers. Game 1 would go to overtime.
To the near side, Morrow's going to have pressure put on him. Dumps it to Nystrom in the near corner. Nystrom tries to get it away. It's stolen away by Pinelli. He's got a man in front. That score! And it's over. Hotman. A 4:07 on the power play with 1 second remaining on the penalty to Jimmy Watson. And the Islanders go first one and win it 4-3.
I used to preach that continually about finding a way, regardless of what happened, finding a way to win. And this was, they love to play the overtime. I think at times they'd blow just to get into the overtime, and they'd play better then.
The Islanders took a 3-2 lead and had a chance to clinch the cup in their own building, but they squandered a 4-2 lead in the third period to send Game 6 to overtime.
Dupont shot, deflects, they score! Holmgren or Paddock it is in front. It's a tied-up game, 4-4. The Flyer contingent is very happy.
When we first walked into the locker room, it was absolutely dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop.
The key for our team in overtime was the fact that everybody thought they could do it. Every individual in the dressing room thought they could be that hero. And we weren't looking at the next guy. We weren't looking at the guy beside us. We all wanted to do it.
And in overtime, Tonelli would quickly help the Islanders get their chance.
Henning. Last right on the second, Tonelli. Coming in with Nystrom. Tonelli to Nystrom. He scores! Bob Nystrom scores the goal. The Islanders win the Stanley Cup.
When the pass came over, I really didn't know what I was going to do with it. It was kind of in front of me, and I said, do I want to stop it? Do I want to try to make a move? And then I just figured it had enough speed on it that if I just deflected it, I think that I could get it on net. And when Peters kind of went down on it, it allowed the puck to go over top. And I had such a wicked curve on my stick, I was surprised that it even went up. But Peters went down and it went in over top. And more than anything else, when I saw the puck go into the net, it was just a sense of relief. More than anything else, I didn't have that exhilaration right off the bat. I just had, oh, thank God this is over.
My heart stopped because I didn't know if the puck had gone in the net. It just seemed like everything stopped there for a while. There was a pause, like a television, you put it on pause for a while. Then I saw everybody go wild, so I figured it had to go in. And it was just like a big relief, a weight taken off your shoulders. because we had been crucified pretty good in the press, you know, chokers and everything else, and we couldn't win the big ones, and so that was off, and it felt real good, and I felt great for the players.
It was a thrill that I really have a hard time finding words to explain. I know sitting on the bench when he scored, it wasn't like I flew off the bench right away. I just had to sit there and kind of just take a deep breath and say, oh, wow, this thing is over.
I must tell you, it took me a second or two to get over the boards. It was an immediate sense of relief. I think you'll hear that a lot. It was a relief, and then it was exhilaration.
The exhilaration was felt by everyone on Long Island. For the team from the suburbs, the team that would never say die, was now champion of all the hockey world. On Long Island, things were a far cry from the early years when the Islanders struggled to win support. And as the fans' affections for the Islanders grew, so did the feelings of the Islanders for the people of Long Island. 8 years before, they had been an anonymous expansion team. Now, they were the centerpiece of a community that embraced them.
I think that was our way of giving something back to the community. Doing a real public relations for the hockey team, getting out there and letting know people that we were willing to go out into the community and give some of the things back, thanking them for their support. And it made a big difference to all of us on the team, all of us that have stayed, especially Bobby Nystrom, John Tonelli, Eddie Westfall still here, myself, Jerry Hart, John Botman. These are guys that still live on Long Island, still part of the communities on Long Island, and we still do a lot of things that not only represent the team, but I think show the type of guys that we are. We're able and willing to help out.
The following year, the Islanders cruised through the regular season like a team on a mission. But for more than half the year, that mission seemed secondary to the efforts of one individual, Mike Bossy. Only one player in NHL history, the legendary Maurice the Rocket Richard, had scored 50 goals in his team's first 50 games. Bossy attacked the record with precision, scoring 8 hat-tricks in the team's first 47 games. But suddenly, the man with the golden touch went cold.
All of a sudden, I went into one of those 2 or 3 game slumps that I used to have, and then all of a sudden I got a hat trick, and I got 4 goals another night, and I was right back on track and feeling kind of good about things.
We wanted to do things like that because we didn't really get a lot of publicity. And the fact that if one of our players could do that, 50 goals in 50 games, it didn't look too good at the time. He waited a little long to do it.
In fact, he was still 2 goals shy of the record late in the third period of game number 50.
Things weren't going any better than they were at the start of the game, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a shot from the point by Stefan and a rebound, and the puck goes in the net, and then all of a sudden, the crowd's going, and I'm saying to myself, well, I can do it. I still have a chance to do it.
Bossy and Butler cleared right to Bossy to Bossy. Shoots, he scores! Mike Bossy has his 50th goal! Outstanding ovation, 50 for Bossy, a minute 29 left in this game.
With the record out of the way, the Islanders went on to dominate the league during the regular season, finishing once again with the league's top mark. In March, Torrey traded Chico Resch, further solidifying Billy Smith's role as the team's #1 goaltender. That faith was rewarded in the playoffs. With Smitty between the pipes, the Islanders marched through the playoffs, losing only 3 games en route to a second straight Stanley Cup.
There's McGillen, shooting, score! Listen to the countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, look up! The New York Islanders have won the Stanley Cup for the second consecutive year, defeating the Minnesota North Stars.
In 1982, the Islanders were more dominant than ever, finishing with a club record 118 points. The defining moment of that regular season was an assault on the NHL team record of 14 straight wins. Ironically, the Islanders would try for win number 15 against former teammate Chico Resch and his Colorado Rockies.
Shooting, he scores! John Tonelli, 47 seconds left. Islanders 3, Rockies 2.
But after marching through the regular season, the Islanders stumbled during the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. After taking a 2-game lead on Pittsburgh, the Islanders watched the Penguins tie the series. Then in the deciding Game 5 at the Nassau Coliseum, they faced the unthinkable, a 3-1 deficit late in the third period.
I had gotten a penalty with about 6 minutes left to go in that game. And I remember the timekeeper saying to me, "I can't believe that it's over." And I said, "It's not over. It's not over yet."
With their title at stake, the Islanders played with a desperate intensity. Mike McEwen gave the team hope when he cut the Penguins' lead in half. Then, with time dwindling, John Tonelli tied the contest, setting up one of the most dramatic overtime finishes in franchise history.
John played so hard. I mean, he was everywhere. He covered the 80 by 200 better than anybody, and he was always working. He'd work till he'd fall down. And for him getting those big goals, it was expected of him to get those big goals because that's the type of player he was. And John was always was so exuberant, and the smile, and you look at him, it made you feel good just to see him.
The Islanders picked up momentum after that scare, rolling past the Rangers and Quebec Nordiques into the finals against the Vancouver Canucks, a series which Mike Bossy used as a personal showcase for his talents.
He scored a goal against Vancouver. It was in midair. I mean, he never lost the fact that he was focused on that net boy, and he took a lot of abuse.
I look at it 2 or 3 times, and it's in slow motion, and I say, how did I do that? But I never thought about how I did things. When I played, I did them.
Bossy was named playoff MVP as the Islanders captured Cup number 3.
Along the board, Prince off the ice, competitors on it. The Islanders are 6 seconds away from their 3rd consecutive Stanley Cup. No American-based team has ever done it. The New York Islanders are the 1982 Stanley Cup champions.
When asked how this compared to the first 2, he replied with a statement that would go down in Islander lore. Every cup is sweet. 1983 brought another trip to the finals. But ironically, despite being 3-time defending champs, the Islanders were the underdogs in the finals against an Edmonton Oilers team which had scored a league record 424 goals during the regular season.
We were annoyed at the press they were getting, annoyed at their attitude about not giving us any respect. I mean, it's a team that's won 3 straight Stanley Cups, and the other team thinks that we're a pushover.
Billy Smith was never one to be intimidated, and in Game 1 of that series, he put on a goaltending clinic.
We probably played 50 minutes of a 60-minute game in our zone, and Billy Smith was unbelievable. The saves that he had to make, and the aggressive play, which is really important in Billy Smith's game because nobody came very close to the net. You guys couldn't come from behind the net and try and jam it on Billy. So he was like a third defenseman out there as well. And that played a big factor in how Billy Smith played his game and his success because most people, when Billy was in goal, had to shoot from far out. They didn't want to get too close. He was a very aggressive goaltender, and that was the best game I'd ever seen a goaltender play.
Battlin' Billy used his stick for more than stopping the puck. He made it clear that even superstars like Wayne Gretzky and Glenn Anderson would receive no special treatment around his net.
I like to mix it up. There's no doubt about it. Some guys just like to go out and play physical. I always like to play physical. I like to get into the game.
Smith shut out the Oilers in Game 1, and Edmonton never recovered. In fact, for the series, he shut out Wayne Gretzky, the league's leading scorer that season. Smith's reward was the Conn Smythe Trophy as playoff MVP. If nothing else, his acceptance speech was one of the more colorful in the history of the award.
All I gotta say is there's probably a lot of people back in Canada will be turning over in their bed with me winning this tonight.
With their 4th consecutive Stanley Cup victory, the Islanders had once again proven their league supremacy and cemented their place as one of the greatest teams in NHL history. The Islanders made a run at history during the 1983-84 campaign. Only the Montreal Canadiens of 1956-60 had managed to win 5 straight Stanley Cups, and the Islanders set their sights on that mark. The first hurdle in their drive for 5 was the New York Rangers. Of all the playoff battles in the long history of the rivalry, the 1984 series was the most evenly played, and the deciding 5th game was nothing short of a classic.
Great hockey game. I mean, a lot of people in New York say that's probably one of the best games they've ever seen. And I can attest to that. I was part of it.
Game 5 went into overtime after Ranger Don Maloney scored with only 39 seconds left in regulation. Each team had its share of opportunities to win before the unlikeliest of heroes ended the contest.
Here's Morrow into the face-off circle. He scores! Kenny Moore! The Islanders will advance to the next round of the Stanley Cup playoffs as Morrow put it between the legs of Hanlon.
The Islanders would once again make it to the finals, but this time there would be no celebration. The Oilers would beat New York in 5 games. Though they failed in a quest for their 5th straight Stanley Cup, the Islanders' accomplishments were undiminished. In fact, with wins in 19 straight playoff series, the Islanders established a record of excellence that may never be matched.
Our team won 19 straight series, and it's going to take a good team. Edmonton never did that. I don't think anybody's going to repeat that.
It demanded a tremendous amount of mental effort and giving, sacrificing, which it's rare to find 20 guys that will do it year after year. And it was a great hockey team, and I think more than anything, I'm more proud to have been a member of that team than I am of any single accomplishment.
The Stanley Cup run was over, but their never-say-die attitude remained. Over the years, the team showed it was still capable of delivering some vintage Islander magic. In 1985, they came back from 2 games down to beat the Washington Capitals 3-2 in the playoffs' first round. In 1987, they trailed the Capitals 3-1 before tying the series of 3. The deciding 7th game soon developed into a classic that featured a memorable goaltending duel. As the battle raged on, the teams entered a 4th overtime session.
I literally sat back. I said, it's almost 2 in the morning. There's 75 shots to 57. 7 periods. I look around, there's people sleeping in the stands. Is this really happening? I'll never forget this moment. Is our trainer, Jim Pickard. I always call him Pick. He always called me Pop. We just kind of nicknamed. And he took a bottle of water, he squeezed it down my back, and he says, you're going to go get this one, Pop. I'm telling you, you're going to get the goal.
Now Deneen stepping in, going in around the goal. Deneen out front, shoots, hit a stick. Comes to the line. LaFontaine shot. He scores! LaFontaine at the blue line. Here in the 4th overtime. Firing the shot and winning the series. Scoring at 8:47. Of the 4th overtime period, and the Islanders pour off the bench, and the Capitals stand there, exhausted.
6 years later, in 1993, the Islanders once again captured the imagination of the hockey world. Facing the Capitals, they found new heroes to lead them in sudden death.
Fitzgerald, cross ice, runs out, with Ferraro in the front of the net. He shoots, he scores!
3 straight overtime victories propelled the Islanders into the Patrick Division Finals against the 2-time defending Stanley Cup champions, the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Penguins had been on the receiving end of some of the greatest victories in Islanders history, and they were about to add another chapter to that legacy. Al Arbour crafted a master game plan to get the Penguin superstars off their game, and it worked. Still, no one gave the Islanders much of a chance when the series moved to Pittsburgh for Game 7. The Islanders got out to a 2-goal lead before the talent-heavy Penguins rebounded with a late-game flurry that was reminiscent of the Islanders' comeback in the 1982 playoffs. But the Penguins made one mistake, letting the game get to overtime.
Moving up. Ferraro looks to Bollig, off right wing. He shoots. He scores! Islanders win in overtime.
The stunning victory ranks as one of the greatest upsets in Stanley Cup history and is proof that the Islanders' proud heritage of winning hockey has never truly disappeared. In recent years, while the Islanders have looked to rebuild, they have dedicated themselves to the recognition of those players who helped forge the dynasty. They have witnessed the Hall of Fame inductions of the men who helped build the Islander legend. And Nassau Coliseum now boasts a row of retired jerseys in the names of Bossy, Potvin, Smith, and Nystrom, with 2 more to come when Clark Gillies and Brian Trottier are similarly honored. They serve as a reminder of the past and an inspiration to those future generations of players who may one day wear the Islanders' crest. That future, both immediate and long-term, is currently being constructed on Long Island. The group that took over the management of the club in 1992 has handed the reins of rebuilding the proud franchise to Mike Milbury, who from day one showed that he is both respectful of the past and hopeful for the future.
For the Islanders of today, it's up to them to write their own legacy.
Upon adding the general manager's duties midway through last season, Milbury began sowing the seeds for a new generation of Islanders. He saw to the development of first-year pros Todd Bertuzzi, Brian McCabe, and Eric Fichot, and as GM, he made trades for young stars like defenseman Kenny Janssen and last year's #1 pick Brian Berard.
I saw what he was doing with the team here, and I definitely think we have a future winning. And we got some great young guys, and I think hopefully next year we can have a winning season. But in the near future, I think we can definitely be a contender for the Stanley Cup.
Right now, without drafting another player, without trading for another player, in a couple of years are going to be a force to be reckoned with. We're going to be fun to watch. We're going to be exciting. And when that happens, people come to see you to play. They want to see you win. They don't want to come and be bored to tears. They don't want to see you lose. They come because they want to be uplifted.
The new core of budding young Islander stars is respectful of the past, but are confident that the future will hold for them the same success achieved by their predecessors.
They're the big dynasty with Bossy and Nystrom and Gillies and all the boys. And it's just a matter of bringing that kind of dynasty back to the 90s now. We got the same kind of mix, different names though on the back, and no reason why we can't do the same thing that they did in the 80s.
Racing with Muller, McCabe scores! The first National Hockey League goal!
History's a big thing, they had the dynasty there from 79 to 83 or whatever, and, it's just proud to be a part of this organization, play in an organization in which they had great history and won some Stanley Cups is just a great honor to be here and be a part of this team, and hopefully we can pick it up where they left off years back and start winning some more Cups.
25 seasons ago, the Islanders were born. And in that time, the franchise climbed to the pinnacle of professional hockey. Winning 4 Stanley Cups in a row, they became arguably the greatest hockey team ever assembled. Now, today's Islanders are faced with the task of keeping that legacy alive, of bringing the Stanley Cup back to Long Island, and continuing the spirit that would never say die.
The banners are so inconsequential for what took place, for the blood, sweat, and tears that went into winning a Stanley Cup championship. You look at the banner and it looks like, well, that must have been easy. It's not easy, but to see that banner up there it's a little bit of a reminder, but it doesn't tell the whole story.
and we promise you will always get the very best coverage tailored for your needs. We understand living on Long Island because we do too. We're all Islanders, and if you want Long Island's best team for insurance, go for National Security Brokerage. You'll feel secure with National Security Brokerage. Let's go Islanders!